Hi guys, I am on here to talk about all the different diaries, notebooks, and journals that I currently have in my collection. I think there's about, I don't know offhand, so I just wanted to come on here to talk about the different diaries and journals that I have and that I have written in over the years. These are all the completed ones. So I've got quite a bit here. And obviously they all kind of have their own unique reasoning for creating them. So I'm just going to go through my collection here, talk a little bit about them, go over like the back end about them, and in no particular order at all. So if you guys have diaries, journals, notebooks from your past, if you could just share in the comments maybe how many you have or how long you've been journaling or why you journal, things like that, just so we can all kind of get to know people's reasonings and things like that. So I just wanted to get on here to have a little bit of a story time for something that is kind of meaningful in my life. So first one up, this is my Bratz Lock Diary. I know what you're thinking. This must be really old if it's Bratz. It is. I had this one for as long as I can remember. I know I was in elementary school when I first got this one. I don't remember the age or anything like that, and I lost the key, so I can never get in it really. But I can tell that I did used to write in it a little bit. So this is the oldest one of the collection here. And put it up closer, you can see it's got some scars on it because it is so old. Really surprised I've held on to it this long. And then again, in no particular order, this one is up next. This one was created, the girl on here was created with Cricut. This was when I was really into my like spa era. I was really into getting my nails done, dermaplanes on my face, doing taking a lot of baths here at home. Really just being intentional with my, I don't like to really use the word self-care, but that's a universal word that most people know, so we'll just call it self-care. So again, she was created using a Cricut and just slapped on a notebook here. And a lot of the things that I would write about in here was things related to, my self-care. So I would watch a lot of self-care YouTube channels, so I would reflect on some of the things that I learned from their videos. I would also talk about some goals that I had in terms of, I was into laser hair removal for a little bit. So I would document in here, my laser hair journey. What else? And then kind of just like some random stuff. Kind of got off track, it looks like. Oh, and then I would also do a lot of hair entries in here. So trying out different hair regimens with washing my hair, styling my hair, and everything like that. And it looks like I ended this one June 22nd of 2021. So this was a 2021 one. And I actually have a matching sweater to this. Let me grab that because I forgot about that. It ended up getting ruined a little bit in the washer. But along with the Cricut, I put her on a crew neck. So they, at one point in time, looked the same. So not sure if I did it wrong or whatever, but something went wrong where she kind of got ruined over time in the washer. But how cool is that? At one point in time, I was matching. So that's that one. This one is the Indiana State University notebook. That is where I attended college back in from 2017 to 2020. And in this one, I specifically talked about my hair again. So you can tell hair is a big part of my life, I guess. So in here, I talked about different hairstyles I wanted to try out. And then, so I've gone back and forth with whether or not I should do braids, natural. It's natural right now, as you can tell. I haven't done a relaxer since early 2021. January 2021 was the last time I had a relaxer. And I would just kind of talk about stuff like that in there. I would also put in different things regarding my braids. So I do sell Wrap and Go braids, which are like braid ponytails. You can find that in my About Me, but I was just kind of taking some inventory on things like that in here and just going over different things that I wanted to do with that brand, if you will. So a lot of that is those things. And then towards the back here, it looks like I was doing some food entries. Just, I've had over the years a lot of food sensitivities and issues with different foods that I eat and how I react. So towards the end of this notebook, there are some food diary like entries in there where I wrote down what I ate for the day and if and what kind of symptoms I experienced, you know, following the digestion of that. This one is my Season of Gratitude journal, and here I did do different journal prompts, just different things that would get me thinking a little bit deeper, such as, you know, what's beyond the surface kind of questions, and also just questions to make me challenge some of my beliefs, some of my vices. So that's what this one was about. This one was originally started last fall, so fall of 2022. I created this one on some website, and basically I just found a fall picture that they had, and then I titled it Season of Gratitude. I thought that was really fitting for the fall, and I would start a lot of entries in here with things that I'm grateful for. So I would just start off with maybe a 2-minute, 5-minute session of anything I could think of that I could be grateful for. Anything from running water to, you know, a comfortable bed to good eyesight, things like that. Just things that really got me reflecting on all the things that I could be grateful for in my life at that moment. That it was just kind of a brainstorm. And so I would start a lot of entries off that way. I also was reading this book called The Red Tent at the time when I started this. And The Red Tent, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it is a book about a group of women who, like during their times of the month and things like that, they would congregate amongst each others, have girl talks, kind of have retreats, if you will. It took place back in the day, so I don't know if it was like tribal days where like people were still heavily in tribes and things like that. So it made a lot more sense, you know, for them to be able to do that once a month. And it is a dream of mine to be able to have something like that one day where, you know, during that time of the month, we're just able to kind of rest and have girl talks with one another, things like that. I think that would be really beneficial to the human race. So that's what this one was about. This was actually the first book that I ever designed in terms of designed it online and then had it printed out and, you know, and shipped. And it's just a blank notebook. Most of mine are blank notebooks. So that's that one. Wow, I have really got a lot here. This one here, this is a hardback notebook. I actually received this notebook when I was a kid, when I was an usher at church. I was the assistant secretary for the usher board, and this was the book that I took the minutes in, so you can see. I don't know if I'm doing this right. This is like my first time trying to do a video like this, but if you can see, you can see that there were some discussions in there about usher board minutes. And then beyond that, it was just like diary entry stuff, like what did I do today or whatever, and then a ton of business stuff in here. So I worked for my brother for a while at his screen printing company, and so at the beginning of each shift, we would have meetings amongst the two of us where we would discuss goals for the day, expectations for the day, current pending projects, and also projects that we were working on currently. And so we would just I would write out the notes from the meetings there. And then, I don't know, some other stuff. And then lots of business ideas that I've had are in here. And then I was also, I think this is, yeah. So I also was an insurance agent for a little bit, and I have when I was taking the Excel course, which is the course I took to get my license to be able to be like an insurance producer, life insurance producer for the life and health, I took a lot of notes in here. So it was a very, very fast-paced course. I had to finish everything in a matter of 2 weeks. So, or was it 1 week? It was 1 week, actually, I think. And so all the note vocabulary was taken in Cornell note style, which is where you write the vocabulary word on one side, you section it off with a line down the center, and then you write the definition. So that's my favorite style of taking notes. So I did that for the life and health insurance course and test studying. I believe that's how I ended up finishing this notebook off. So all the way up until the end there, I used that, and I guess it helped out because, hey, I passed the test on the first go round, so that was pretty neat. And then this notebook was a gift to me. It says, be what you want to be, and I started this notebook to be kind of a trip reflection notebook. So what I mean by that is I was really big into taking weekend trips once upon a time, and and not just weekend trips, but even vacations. So like past vacations even, and then vacations that I had upcoming, and then vacations that I was taking, I would write about those in here. So for instance, back when I was in college, I went to London, Paris, New York City, and things like that. And so I wrote about those in here. I just used it as a way to reflect on the trip, what I liked, what I enjoyed about the trip, if I wanted to go again, kind of a thing. And then when I was taking my weekend trips back in 2021, like that summer of 2021, I was trying a bunch of different weekend places to try here in Indiana is where I'm located, and I was going to a bunch of small towns, just checking out their charming downtowns, and some of them even had like beaches, which was really neat. So I would just write about those in here. So this one was mainly like a travel reflection notebook, and I believe, yeah, so I pretty much stuck with that style of writing for the majority of this notebook. And looks like I also have some movies and books in here that I may have consumed and wrote about as well. So this one was kind of a cultural notebook. Wasn't a lot of feelings involved in that one in terms of like writing about feelings and stuff. Definitely a lot of feelings involved always. This one is my cute little 5-star green notebook. This one I started New Year's Day of 2018. I was in college at the time, and I was kind of in a period of my life where I was full of frustrations and things like that. So I just wrote all kind of frustrations out in this book. Different things I may have been confused about at the time, and what else? And yeah, I just kind of was doing stuff like that. Kind of some stuff in here that talked about a, should I say, situationship that I was in at that time. And then what else? Oh, yes. This one, my minimalist notebook, it says notes on it here in gold. This was my notebook that I purchased with a TJ Maxx gift card that my friend gave me for my birthday back in 2022. Yeah, so last year, my birthday, which was in June. I decided to use this notebook as a very intimate notebook about my cycle. So I was really trying to, I guess, control and make note of all my different PMS symptoms and just like kind of, what's the word? Kind of tracking my mood throughout the different stages of our 28-day cycle. And so so right here it says 28 days and then it says about my cycle. So I would record things like my mood, my symptoms, what I was experiencing with PMS, how I was, I guess, menstruating. That might be TMI for some of you guys. But I would just kind of record it on a day-to-day basis. So, like, it looks like I was tracking down food cravings, health symptoms, mood symptoms, any meds that I was taking, which I don't take meds very often, so that's kind of what I was using this one for. And it kind of helped me get an idea of when I was, in terms of like making decisions especially, I was able to come back to this one, and if I was getting ready to make a really crazy decision, I was able to come back and see after this decision was made what time of the month that was. So for instance, I ended up taking a job in Hawaii back in August, right? And it was a really spontaneous decision. Like, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn saying like, hey, do you want this job in Hawaii? And it starts in a month. And I just said, yeah, like, why not? You know, who doesn't want to live in Hawaii? So I took that job and packed up all my clothing, booked a flight, and rented out a room there for a few days, mind you, because I didn't last long over there. That is not the type of environment I like. Hawaii's beautiful and everything, but when you are having to live in a village, and I hope nobody from that company or anything sees this video, they probably have some nasty words for me, considering I quit. But I was able to look at this notebook and look back at when I made that decision, like what day in my cycle I was, and sure enough, it was a day in my cycle where they say you probably shouldn't make big life decisions because your hormones and you know, mood symptoms are all over the place. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay. This one. Now, this is a notebook that I handmade, and I handmade it out of leather here. Leather and green and brown printer paper. And I just glued it all together. You know, this was like one of those artsy kinds of projects, right? And so, and here, this was back in 2020. So I started this one New Year's Day of 2020. And the reason the rubber band was on is because it is falling apart. So I better not mess with it too much because I do like to keep it. But I was living in the university apartments at the time. And I honestly can't remember the things I used to write about then. Probably stuff about school and things like that. I know specifically on the day that I started this, which was New Year's Eve, so like 2019, New Year's Eve, getting ready to roll into 2020, I decided to have kind of a night in. I've never been one who liked to really party on New Year's Eve. And so I decided on that night, and on a lot of New Year's Eve nights, I do this, just kind of release it all on paper, anything that I may have felt was holding me back for the year, and then, you know, kind of like releasing it and then starting on a fresh note for the new year. Just what I, you know, would like to go into the new year with. And then I would also, oh yeah, and this one, I remember I wrote a book that, you know, I self-published a book back around in 2019. And so I was really in this creative mode. And so in that notebook, I would also write short stories. So I would just make up stories and write it out totally spontaneously. Just whatever would come to mind, I would write it out. It could have been anything, right? And then there was a river in the back of my university apartment, and I would sometimes go to the river and walk, and I would write about that, of course. So sometimes I would just write about stories that may have taken place at that river, or I may have also just used that as a time to write about what I was seeing around me, kind of like more so from a creative approach. So I did utilize that one a lot for that. This one, let's see if I have dates in here, because I don't remember when I started this one. This one says, yeah, I don't really have dates in here, so I can't tell you when I started this one, but I can tell you that this used to be my workout and food journal. So I was really big into lifting. Actually, that will tell me when it was. End of 2020, because at the end of 2020, I started doing like heavy lifting at the gym, and my goal was to get thick, you know. And I actually did put on quite a bit of weight, but it just was not sustainable for me. I think I ended up gaining like maybe 12 pounds of muscle, which looked really good because it went to all the right places: my arms, my thighs, my butt, and everything. And then my stomach was also showing abs, so, you know, I was looking good. But yeah, I would use this to track my workouts. So the workouts that I did that day, and then the workouts that I had planned to do for the next day. And then I would also track my calories in here, how many calories I was eating. I think I was on a 2,000 calorie diet back then, trying to bulk up and everything. So I would write the foods that I ate for the day, how many calories it was, and my weight. I think I would track my weight maybe on an every few day basis, just to make sure that I was staying on track and gaining weight and things like that. So I did that. I think that lasted for about 8 months, 6 to 8 months. So that's what this one was about. Okay. This one, looks like this one was kind of all over the place. This one was 2021. So I know I had started a new job, and I was talking about that in here. I was working at an autism clinic. So I had a few entries of that in here, and then kind of just other random stuff. I don't know. This one was a very kind of a small notebook, so I don't really remember exactly what was going on during that time. I was working, that job that I was working at the time was a lot, so I know I probably wasn't going too deep into anything at that point in time. And then we have this one. Okay. So this one was 2022, and on the front it says, "Be happy." So in this one, I was writing about the Hawaii trip a lot. I was writing about my dreams on how I wanted to spend my days once I get out to Hawaii, you know, like dreaming, right? Dreaming a little too much. And then, yeah, that's kind of pretty much what that one was about. Kind of writing out what happened there. Lots of dreams in here. When I say dreams, I am a daydreamer, and sometimes it can be a lot, so I have to write it down. So yeah. And then towards the end of this notebook, I joined a author's course online, and so I was writing a lot of different stuff that I was learning in there, and different ideas for my second book and things like that, and character development. So that's kind of how I ended up finishing off the book, which would have been probably around September, October of last year of 2022, because I left for Hawaii in August, came back in August, and I remember taking that course around September, between September and October. So that's what that one was. So anyway, if you have made it to the end, thank you for watching. I have always kind of wanted to share my collection of notebooks with everyone. Currently, those were all the notebooks that I have finished, and then right now, this is currently what I'm writing on. This is just a yellow notepad, you know, old school, on a cardboard backing. And I really like writing this way though, because for one, the paper is a lot wider, you know, than versus something like this. And then also, I don't have to worry about, so if you write in journals and diaries, you know what I mean by having to make the page stay open. So like, for instance, in like one of these, when you're writing, pages don't always stay open, and they do this like thing where you have to, yeah, you know what I mean. And so with this, I like how it's vertical. You can just turn the page up and down, and so to me, that makes for a nice seamless way to write. So I really like writing the up and down way, or flipping the papers up and down, because I finish a page and then I flip it. I finish a page and then I flip it. I don't know. It's just something about flipping it that I really like. And then, of course, I love the fact that the pages are a lot wider, allowing me to have a lot more space in my writing. So that's the one I am writing on currently. But anyway, like I said, thank you guys for watching to the end if you made it this far. I, again, always wanted to be able to share, you know, something that has been a part of my life for such a long time. Whenever I have thoughts, feelings, trying a new course, trying a new program, working out, whatever the case might be, I always write about it. And as you can see, I've got quite the collection here. So it'll be interesting to see how my writing and my journaling and diary and notebook taking, whatever you want to call it, evolves over the next stages of my life. I don't really have any like dreams about it or anything. It's just going to be something that I probably always do as long as I have the time. I know right now I'm doing a lot of writing on different things. So I go on my daily walks, as you guys have seen, and so I am doing prompts around that, just to kind of like a gratitude kind of a thing, like what did you see on the walk and things like that, just to allow myself to be a little bit more present while I am walking. And then I am also trying to get a new job right now, so I have been writing out, I guess, manifestations or you know, prayers, whatever, around, you know, the job that I want. So been doing a lot of writings on that. So if you guys are writing, you have your writing collection, whatever the case might be, let me know in the comments, and hopefully we can connect over that.